What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Truzz the Bank podcast, on every available, podcast platform. Or if you're watching on TTB Ravens Media, make sure to hit the subscribe button for daily Ravens content. Same host as always. We may potentially have a guest show up later that's a big Chiefs fan, and we can potentially talk with them about the trade. But we're here to talk about the trade, really. Orlando Brown Jr. to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for the Ravens sent Orlando Brown, second round pick this year, future sixth round pick. The Ravens are getting back pick 31, a third rounder, a fourth rounder, and a future fifth round pick. Joshua, I'll start with you. I made my instant reaction video. How did you find out about the trade? And what was your instant reaction when you saw it?
So, pretty much I was just chilling in the house, relaxing. Next thing you know, I get a call from my buddy around 1 o'clock. He said, "Man, you hear the news?" I said, "No, man, what's going on?" Man, check ESPN, check Ravens Nation. I'm like, all right, check Ravens Nation. I see Orlando Brown traded. I said, "Oh man, we've been talked about this. I'm happy of the trade. Only thing I'm not happy about is the team he went to, for the simple fact, because it is not about to be Ravens and Steelers no more. Granted, that is going to always be the rivalry, the AFC North rivalry. But now we have transitioned over to the Ravens Kansas City rivalry, you could say. Kansas City been having our number. And, either we didn't got this close or Patrick Mahomes just, do his wizardry or his magic and pull something out the hat. So we're sending a 24-year-old Orlando Brown Jr. to protect, Pat Mahomes' blind side. It's cool, but at the same time, we're going to get guys to, get with Orlando Brown, and it's not. It's all going to be love because we all know for the next couple seasons, Kansas City is going to be on the schedule, or we're going to see Kansas City possibly in the playoffs. So I'm happy with the trade. Like I said, I just wish we didn't send him to Kansas City.
Yeah, I think most Ravens fans are disappointed that it went to Kansas City. But in terms of the load they got, I think a lot. I'll say this: I love it that the load, but him going to Kansas City. The most important thing is that Ian Rappaport, was on. I think it's NFL Network or whatever show he shows up on and talks about the trades. He was talking and he said, "Yeah, Ravens sending all these trades. Yeah. There's no deal in place for an extension for Orlando Brown Jr. That's the most important thing. The Chiefs gave up a ton of assets to get 1 year of Orlando Brown Jr. Could potentially be 2 if they tag Orlando Brown Jr. But honestly, I do not know if they have the money to tag him. They attempted to sign Trent Williams this offseason, who is the highest paid left tackle in NFL history. Orlando Brown Jr. wants to be the highest paid left tackle in NFL history. So I don't know how they couldn't afford him, but they're going to afford somebody else because, they've signed so many guys to extensions. I don't see anybody that they're going to just be able to take off the books next year. Unless they're I don't know what Tyrann Mathieu', contract is looking like, but, he's a big part of their defense. So for them, I really think it's a 1 or 2 year lease, which is a lot better than if we said, oh, yeah, we'll trade him to the Chiefs. Orlando Brown Jr. already has a 5-year extension lined up. Then it's okay, we got 6 years of going against Orlando Brown for the Chiefs, whereas this could be you look at it, heck, you could look at it like a Yannick Ngakoue situation where it's you get him for the year, you let him go. We got him for half a year, but kind of similar story. Whereas, something like a Marcus Peters where we trade for him and then he signs that extension. I don't think they have the money to sign him to the extension of the value that he wants, which is a huge plus for the Ravens because, we gave him a 1 year lease. The benefit of Orlando Brown Jr. is his play style. He's not good against speed. What do the Ravens do? They send a lot of corners off the edge. They send a lot of speed off of the edge, which you can get around Orlando Brown Jr. Still a very, very good offensive tackle, still very young, but he's just not athletic enough to just sweep outside and, get that guy. So that's a huge plus is, maybe the Ravens are playing 12-dimensional chess and they're this will give us an advantage in our blitz-heavy scheme because Orlando Brown Jr. dealing with the blitz is unable to step farther outside, help us get to Patrick Mahomes. Not 100% certain, but in terms of the assets, I think a lot of Ravens fans, I believe including you, are upset about the second-round pick, correct?
Yes. For the simple fact that he's 24, he hasn't hit his prime, but yet he has gone to the Pro Bowl for both right tackle and left tackle. So, me personally, it's just me talking, and I know, with these trades, you do have to give up some type of assets in order for things to balance out. But I do feel like, with Orlando Brown's upside, him by himself being traded, he doesn't need no extra incentive. For the simple fact, like I said, he went to Pro Bowl on the right side and the left side. You get him at 24. He hasn't hit his prime yet. Only thing he's going to do is continue to get better. And even he may not be at the best feet work and everything like that, but he has everything an old school offensive lineman has. He's a big guy, he's a solid guy, he's a wide guy. You know, it's going to take a lot for one of those defensive tackles, defensive ends. If they're not an Aaron Donald or a Khalil Mack or maybe a Nick Bosa type of guy, it's going to take a lot to get him off his feet and get him unsettled. So I definitely wish we could have kept the second round pick, but at the same time, I'm not mad because the Ravens way with us having a 27th and a 31st, maybe even move up in the draft or possibly trade them off and maybe get like an additional third round or get that second round pick.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to say right now, I've said it before, I don't think that the second round matters. I think that us trading the second round pick is actually better because if you think about it, I would rather have traded, the second round pick along with Orlando Brown Jr. for the 31st and the 3rd and the 4th than if we had just done Orlando Brown Jr. for the 31st pick. And that's because the depth in this draft and what the Ravens need, the second round players in this draft, a lot of corners, a lot of, just players that the Ravens don't really need at their position. The Ravens need what? Edge rushers. Yep. They need centers, potentially an offensive tackle, but whether or not that gets situated with Alejandro Villanueva is kind of up in the air right now. And they need wide receivers. The players that are available in the second round, I think there were 2 edge rushers that I liked. Tryon out of Washington and Osai out of Texas. All the other guys were pretty much defensive end type players. Don't really fit. There's a guy out of Oklahoma, a guy out of Houston, a lot of guys, but they just don't fit what the Ravens need. So we got to go farther back. And then you look at the 3rd and 4th round. Where are those rounds very good at? Well, they got very, very good wide receivers. Like that's where the depth in this wide receiver class comes in. Ton of late day 2, early day 3 picks.
Yes, sir.
Then there's a ton of edge rushers that are going to be available. The centers, Quinn Miners could be available in the 3rd round, which I think is great. I think he's a great fit. His comp is Ryan Jensen. Last good Raven center is Ryan Jensen. So he's very good. There's still later guys like Drake Jackson that are very good. But overall, the second round pick, I was never in love with it. That was always the most difficult position to draft for me when I do my mock draft Mondays, was because I was always just like, who do I want? Because there would never be the guy that I wanted available. It would always just be like, I'm either drafting some corner that, I don't really think is necessary just because I'm not going to take a 3rd round player, in the 2nd round. I don't like overdrafting like that. But with what we have now, we have a luxury to do what the Ravens always do, which is the best player available strategy. When you have 2 picks in the 1st round that are very close to each other, and obviously the Ravens have big needs at wide receiver and edge rusher and also center. And sometimes, you could say offensive tackle, but again, up in the air, having the ability to go best player available and then also still fill a need in the 1st round is huge. And then also you can still go. I mean, the Ravens could very likely also go wide receiver and edge rusher, whether it's Bateman or Terrace Marshall or Ojulari or Phillips or Owe. those guys are all seen as kind of later round, the first round players, and the Ravens could get two of them and fill both of the needs. The entire debate this offseason for the Ravens fans has been like, wide receiver or edge, which do you address in the first round? We can address both now. That is massive. We can address both now, then get a ton of depth in this draft at wide receiver, at linebacker, at edge, at corner, at safety, at offensive tackle, at center. So much options that you can see. And if you don't believe me, go check out my Twitter at Truzz the Bank. I tweeted on a mock draft. I was like, I'm kind of curious to see what we're doing. What could be a possibility for the draft. And I was like, I did the draft and I was like, how could the Ravens have lost this trade? I think the Chiefs did well. But I was like, how could this be a bad trade for the Ravens when I saw that mock draft? And Joshua, you saw the mock draft. What do you think? What do you think about it?
Man, I loved it for the simple fact that we went here and answered. We won. We went here. I saw that you went here and got Moray. That was literally That's literally the Ravens' way as far as best player available. Also, a highly coveted player by Wink Martindale. 2, I see the Jason Oweh. That answers the question of a possible premier edge rusher. Next thing you know, we get later into those rounds. We get 2 guys that we've been talking about, big body guys. We get Seth and Simi Fehoko. And I love that for the simple fact that when we talked about it, those are big body guys. They can catch with their hands. They know how to, box out the corners and create that separation. And once they catch the ball, they have decent yards at the catch. So I liked it, honestly. And then you also picked up my guy Snowden in the late as well. So we added to, like you said, depth and possible players that we can go ahead and plug in. This year's draft, I really feel like EDC is about to hit this one on the nail. I feel like from the first to what is it, 5th or 6th round?
Yeah, we got 1 6th round pick in pick 210.
Okay, I feel like everybody's going to make an impact immediately, just like everybody just about been doing since the past 2 years. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the 29th for real.
The Ravens of recent years have absolutely been utilizing their picks. My favorite part about it is if you guys are fantasy football fans, if you guys play, let me know in the comments down below. But overall, in fantasy football, it's always nice to have the picks that go kind of back to back. It doesn't have to be pick 1 or pick, 10 or 12 where it's like, oh, you go 12, 13 or 10, 11. But it can be like, maybe you pick 8th or 9th or 2nd or 3rd. And it's like, all right, I pick 9th, but I also draft 12th. It's like, because then you're sitting there and you're at 9 and you're like, oh, who do I go with? Do I go with, do I draft myself a good wide receiver, a good running back? And you're like, oh, well, both these guys are really good. They'll probably both be available. I can select one, draft the other. You can plan it out that way. The Ravens have 2 picks in every round that they draft in, except for the 6th round. And the farthest distance between those picks is 13 picks. In the 5th round, they go from pick 171 to pick 184. But other than that, they got a 4-pick separation between 27 and 31. You can guess in your head when you're available, you're like, all right, likely this guy's going to be available because you can look at it and be like, all right, these teams are drafting. This is what they need. 3rd round, we got pick 94 and pick 104. 10 picks away. Again, very solid. You can just, locate that and be like, all right, boom. Because if you're picking, 1 round away, everybody's going, somebody could take your guy. But when you're closer, you can key in on, okay, well, the teams behind us, they need more, defensive guys. We need that offensive guy later. Then, you look at the 4th round, 5 picks away, 131 to 136. That's amazing. Being able to sit there and know exactly what people are doing is a great luxury to have because so many teams typically go between draft picks. You got to wait forever. And it also gives the Ravens the luxury to trade up. I mean, if people are so upset about the Ravens losing that 2nd round pick, do you guys not think that the Ravens could, see a guy available falling, middle of the second round, and then they go, hey, we'll trade you pick 94, 131, and 210, and they wouldn't be able to trade. Like, they could trade up. Like, they would be able to get that pick. Like, they have the capital to trade up. They have the capital. I mean, they could trade back. I don't think that they will. I think if they trade back, they'll use those picks again to trade back up with another pick, just because the Rams don't have a ton of roster spots that they need, and having more than 9 picks is a lot. But overall, they're just going to be able to do so many things in this draft. They're going to be able to address every single hole that they have, and they really only have 4 holes. But then they can also go best player available, which I did twice, in Trayvon Moehrig and Davion Nixon, who is like one of the best defensive tackles in the draft. And, I was able to snag him in the 3rd round. After picking up a wide receiver, I was like, oh, wow, this guy fell? Well, we could use him, and still hit every single need, because when we're drafting, Ravens love to go best player available. Did we need a running back last year? Probably not. But we saw a guy in J.K. Dobbins, and we were like, we have to take him. Yep. He is the best running back in this draft. We got to take him. We took him. Breaks the Ravens rookie touchdown record. Like, that's the Ravens way. Best player available is what they do. That's how they've operated forever. Even Marlon Humphrey when he was picked. Like, did we really need a corner? No, but he was the best guy available. So boom, draft him. That's just a luxury that the Ravens have always, kind of followed in on. So for me, I think it's just a great trade overall, just because we have the luxury to go best player available. We have the luxury to really draft every single hole and fill every single need. And also, we get another 1st round pick, and that's huge. Like, getting pick 31 is massive. And I think a lot of people want it. Like, if we got pick 20 or 21 or even 13, we would have had to send that 2nd round pick. And come on, at pick 13, who would we want? Like, we'd have the cream of the crop pick at edge rusher. But, like, do we need to trade a 2nd round pick to get the perfect edge rusher and still probably be an overdraft? Like, edge rushers are probably not going to be drafted until around 16, 17. Like, the teams that need edge rushers are not the teams at the beginning of the draft. So for me, I just love that kind of idea that we can go with that. But yeah, if you guys want to see the mock draft, check out at Truzz the Bank on Twitter, because I'll have a different mock draft up for Mock Draft Monday. I was just kind of messing around, and it was a lot of fun.
Like, because of the move, I don't see EDC making too many more moves, because I feel like everybody that we want or that we may have missed out on is still going to fall into our lap. Man, I don't know about you, McConnell. I don't know about fans. It's going to be very interesting. Because that 27th and 31st pick is so keen. It almost reminds me of the year when we got Hayden Hurst and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. And we all remember how that year went. Everybody that we picked has been making a name for themselves.
Yeah. And people may say Hayden Hurst was, like, not very good. Hayden Hurst was a massive addition for the Ravens. Like, yeah, he didn't play as much as Mark Andrews, but he was very good for the Ravens. He did the exact thing the Ravens drafted him to do, be an overall balanced tight end. And he made, like, we saw what losing Hayden Hurst did to our tight end offense, to our wide receiver core, like, our passing game last year. Like, we lost Hayden Hurst, we didn't replace him, and it was like, oh, wow, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And then the same people are like, oh, we need to fix the offense. Like, we saw what the offense was with Hayden Hurst, with that 3 tight end set. Like, he was an important part of our team. Like, he was very important. Like, he was a very good player for us. And obviously we got J.K. Dobbins out of it. So, great job, everybody. But I think that's going to kind of do it for this first segment. If you guys want to see the other segments, you can check out the podcast platforms to listen to them, or you can wait, because over the next few days, the segments will be posted. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, comment your thoughts and opinions. But